Welcome to this explainer. Today, we're doing something a little different. We're going to dissect the anatomy of a real-life nightmare. You know, as horror fans, we love a good scary story, but the absolute scariest stories are the ones that actually happen. We all walk around every single day wrapped in this comforting blanket of security, trusting the world around us, right? But what happens when that illusion of safety just shatters? Today, we're breaking down those exact moments where everyday scenarios devolved into pure, terrifying horror. And yes, it was all caught on camera. Picture this. You wake up on a perfectly normal day in a beautiful, safe, well-to-do neighborhood. The sun's shining, the lawns are manicured, you feel completely secure in your home. And then, in literally just 60 seconds, your entire world is violently erased. Nothing but pitch blackness and miles of unrecognizable rubble. That chilling realization is just one of the terrifying true horror stories we're exploring today. We're going to look at the data, the physics, and the human elements behind these sudden drops into absolute chaos. All right, let's dive right into Section 1, Recreation Turned Terrifying. So millions of us think of skiing as this relaxing, thrilling weekend getaway. It's supposed to be fun, right? But hiding right beneath that pristine white snow is a chillingly high rate of high-speed accidents. Get this. 54. That is the number of people who actually die every single year in ski-related accidents in the U.S. And that's out of a staggering 600,000 annual injuries. We don't usually equate hitting the slopes with a high-stakes horror movie, but when you strap fiberglass to your feet and hurtle down a mountain, your margin for error is incredibly slim. Most of these fatal accidents, they happen from hitting trees or falling straight off a cliff. Now, you'd probably assume the expert trails, the steep, jagged drop-offs, are where the real danger is. Well, the data reveals a horrifying truth about false security. 54% of these fatal accidents happen exactly where you feel the safest, on the beginner-friendly trails. Only 31% happen on expert runs. It's the horror of false security perfectly illustrated. When you're on a beginner trail, your guard is completely down. You're relaxed, and you just don't anticipate a sudden, lethal loss of control. So why are these accidents so deadly, even with all our modern safety gear? I mean, you slap on a helmet and you feel invincible, right? Well, that illusion totally shatters when you look at the raw physics. Helmets are fundamentally designed to protect you from impacts at around 12 miles per hour. But a skier who loses control and hits a tree is usually traveling at a catastrophic 25 to 40 miles per hour. At those speeds, the sheer kinetic force just completely overwhelms the safety gear. It literally turns a fun run down the bunny slope into a devastating trauma event. Moving on to Section 2, Deadly Human Error. Let's leave the slopes and head over to a professional movie set. Here, the horror doesn't come from losing physical control, but from a catastrophic breakdown in human judgment. It's a real-life story where the desperate attempt to capture Hollywood magic turned into an inescapable nightmare. On the set of the film Midnight Rider, the plan was to shoot a simple, moody dream sequence with a hospital bed placed directly on live train tracks. It was supposed to be controlled art. But then, reality disrupted the scene. An actual, fast-moving train came barreling down those exact tracks. The crew desperately tried to yank the heavy metal bed off the rails, but they were out of time. What happened next is pure tragedy. The massive train slammed into the metal hospital bed, and the prop violently recoiled. It propelled 27-year-old camerawoman Sarah Jones directly into the path of the train, killing her instantly. The pursuit of this cinematic dream sequence created a literal horror story. It ended a young woman's life and sent the director, Randall Miller, to prison for 2 years on manslaughter charges. It's just a stark, awful reminder of the lethal consequences of human error. Which brings us to Section 3, Anatomy of a Nightmare. This next terrifying event takes us to the Dumai ski resort in Russia, back in 2013. If you want to talk about the visceral dread of being completely trapped, classic horror storytelling stuff, this is it. It's a recreational activity called zorbing that instantly descended into pure, out-of-control terror. The illusion is super innocent. You strap yourself into the center of a giant inflatable ball, get a gentle push down a designated, safe path, and have a bouncy, fun time. Sounds harmless, right? But in this horrifying instance, the giant ball carrying 2 men veered completely off its path. Completely strapped in and unable to move, they tumbled helplessly down the steep, jagged side of a mountain for almost an entire mile. As this ball tumbled for nearly a mile, it relentlessly smashed into jagged rocks, picking up terrifying speed with the 2 men tossed around inside like rag dolls. The physical toll was absolutely devastating. 33-year-old Vladimir Sherbakov suffered a concussion and deep cuts, but he miraculously survived. Tragically, though, 27-year-old Dennis Burr sustained severe spinal cord damage and died on the way to the hospital. Just the complete helplessness of being trapped inside a rolling sphere of death, that is the absolute stuff of nightmares. Next up is Section 4, Stalked by Nature. Sometimes the horror doesn't come from gravity or heavy machinery. Sometimes it comes from the primal terror of being quietly hunted. Two men were out for a seemingly peaceful run on the Machi Tawan trails in Alberta, Canada, when their workout was abruptly interrupted by an unwanted guest, a wild black bear. And it didn't just cross their path, it began closely, methodically stalking them. In the footage, you can hear them whispering, "Get us together, we look bigger together." It perfectly captures this agonizingly tense game of survival. You can literally hear the calculated fear in their voices as they realize they are actively being sized up by an apex predator. So what do you actually do when a real-life monster from the woods decides to hunt you? These men utilize specific, desperate survival tactics. Step 1, they huddled closely together to fuse their silhouettes, making themselves look like one larger, intimidating animal. Step 2, and this is absolutely crucial, they fought the overwhelming human urge to turn and run away, which would have instantly triggered the bear's chase instinct. And step 3, they spoke firmly and held their ground. This was a young, testing bear trying to figure out if these runners were an easy meal. By holding their ground, they successfully kept the predator at bay. It is absolutely crucial to understand the psychology of this horror. A lot of people watch footage like this and think, oh, the animal is just curious or playful. Well, the reality shatters that dangerous myth. Over 90% of black bear encounters are entirely predatory. Had there not been two people standing their ground, if it had just been one solitary runner out there, an attack was highly, highly likely. Never assume a wild animal just wants to be friendly. Assuming so is basically an invitation to become prey. Finally, Section 5, the ultimate destructive force. We've looked at human error, accidents, and predators, but we are going to face the absolute apex of natural horror right now. Nothing compares to the sheer scale of an EF4 tornado. This is a force that transforms everyday life into absolute chaos and total devastation in seconds. Consider the terrifying shift here. The video capturing this event starts in a beautiful, wealthy area. You see nice houses, vibrant green lawns. It's the very picture of suburban tranquility. But the aftermath, in just 60 seconds, that idyllic landscape is transformed into pitch blackness and nothing but splintered rubble for miles. The speed at which normalcy is just deleted by nature is staggering. As this massive EF4 tornado passes directly overhead, the camera lens plunges into absolute terrifying blackness. The visual is totally gone. All you're left with is the horrifying audio of destruction. We hear the deafening roar of the wind tearing homes to shreds, mixed with the frantic, panicked voices of a family desperately trying to locate each other in the dark while debris is literally flying everywhere. You hear someone yell, "I gotta go, I'm coming, honey, where you at?" It drops you right into the center of their darkest, most desperate moment. When the roaring finally subsides and the man steps outside, the visual returns, but his world is gone. You can feel the sheer dread radiating from his voice when he cries out, "Our house is freaking destroyed. The neighbors' houses are gone." He's standing exactly where his beautiful green lawn used to be, just staring at a miles-long scar of pure destruction. It's this horrifying realization that the raw, unstoppable power of Mother Nature always wins, completely erasing his home and his neighborhood without a second thought. We've explored how a sunny day on the slopes, a creative movie shoot, a trail run, or even just sitting in your own living room can instantly twist into a terrifying fight for your life. These stories prove just how quickly that comforting illusion of safety can vanish into thin air. So I want to leave you with a final provocative thought. When nature or disaster inevitably strikes, will you be mentally and physically prepared to act? Or will you be the subject of the next horrifying moment caught on camera? Keep learning, stay vigilant, and thanks for joining me on this explainer.